What is going on, guys? We are back on another video today, and we are going to be looking at the Green Bay Packers schedule and trying to predict the season that I think they're going to have. It's another excuse for me to talk about my favorite team. Of course, I was going to wait on this because I really do believe that Green Bay is going to target some sort of veteran wide receiver. I would just love to see it be Julio Jones. I don't care that you broke your elbow. I don't care about the injury concerns because Green Bay's got to do something. If he can even put up the numbers, which weren't even that great, that he did for Tennessee, it would be vastly better than anything I think we're going to get out of a Green Bay receiver. I think Christian Watson's one of those guys. It's going to take a while for him to develop, which is why, once again, I do get the whole sort of hate of Quay Walker pick, not just because of the position and because of other needs, but just because I would have loved to control that fifth year with Christian Watson, which I don't know why Green Bay didn't kind of think about. I don't know if they just made that mistake. Devontae Wyatt at 22, Christian Watson at 28. Keep those 2 second-round picks in, the later second-round picks. Maybe grab a safety with one. Still was a lot of good linebackers on the board, but the draft is come and gone. Maybe Quay Walker is just going to be such a good player that you look back at it and you're like, screw that fifth-year option. He was worth every freaking, he was worth it, But I think he's just a guy that's going to be one of those go-route receivers. It's going to be a while before he develops. You got to remember guys like Devontae, it took a long time to develop, and, he was a more polished receiver coming out of college. And I worry about the talent of this Packers team, the versatility of this team. I feel like they're all like guys that are just able to do one thing, and none of them seem to be route runners. So, I really think Green Bay is going to look for a wide receiver, but I couldn't wait. I was like, I'm going to wait a couple months, maybe, see what happens, but nah, dude. Plus, it's Green Bay. Let's be honest. They're going to sell. They're going to drop the bag, and they're just going to not get one of the wide receivers. But, of course, a preseason schedule that looks like a playoff run, right? You got the Niners in the divisional, the Saints in the championship, and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Absolutely crazy preseason schedule. But obviously, you don't mind that, because these games don't technically matter on the record board or books, but they're very well coached teams, very good teams that will give you a good experience for your backups. Your guys that are maybe even going to start with a team like ours where, like I said, that wide receiver room specifically, the offensive lineman group, there's some question marks there that, who's going to be the guy. So I don't mind that preseason schedule being so tough at all. But let's start with week 1. I should probably keep it like, hey, spoilers, avoid them. You have Minnesota, a team that has been kind of underperforming their roster for years now. A team that I wouldn't necessarily say got better. They're kind of like Green Bay territory, but they didn't lose as much, right? Because Devontae's just a huge name. But still, lacking hard on the cornerback group. I know they ended up getting, Andrew Booth. But I still think, once again, it's kind of a guy that's going to take a while to develop. I will say, if there's any track record to be said here, Andrew Booth could just be bad because Minnesota has just struggled so hard to grab a good cornerback. Honestly, the last guy they've had that was even decent, which, of course, he was better than average by a good margin, it's probably Antoine Winfield, honestly. But they just really have struggled to find a good cornerback. But you're looking at cornerbacks versus Green Bay receivers, and you're probably giving no one the nod, right? You're really kind of giving Rodgers the nod probably over anyone. The thing that probably will be the big factor in this one is, can Minnesota stop Green Bay's run game? I know they have a really good edge with Za'Darius joining their squad. Very good player. I wouldn't even say underrated, because I think people know now that Za'Darius is a pretty damn good edge rusher. And then you have Danielle Hunter. But the interior for Minnesota is lacking. Eric Kendricks, he had a very big impact in both of the games. The first game, I don't know if the second game, the second game really didn't matter, but that first game, the Vikings defense looked really good last year against Green Bay, and Eric Kendricks was a massive part of that. So he was able to control a lot of different things. He's going to be the biggest part of that entire game, in my opinion, both sides of the ball for either team. And if he doesn't have a perfect game, I see this as a dub. Once again, you got to look at the other side. Minnesota does have a good offense. Dalvin Cook, I will say Green Bay's been getting better on the run defense, and obviously they had much better when you consider, what they added in the offseason, specifically the draft. They landed some good early round draft picks that are good for stopping the run, specifically. Devontae Wyatt's going to be great for getting to the quarterback, and, he's just a really solid looking player. And this Packers defense, they're going to be the ones talked about, I think. And I don't know really if that's even an argument anymore. I think they're going to be the better unit by far, as we've seen with that, game against the Niners. Some really bad mistakes by the offense, and even worse by the special teams. Should have been a win. We'll say there was a drop pick six. I don't know if it was Stokes, whoever it was, but it was going to be a pick six, and they were in the red zone. I think they got a score because of it. But regardless, I see week one as a win. It should be a close game, but I just think Minnesota's roster is still, they've got more holes, I think. And I do worry, though, about the preseason, the practicing schedule of Rodgers. This is the year that Rodgers needs to play practice and, get into tune with these wide receivers as much as possible. But that's just not something he does. It's not something Green Bay great quarterbacks seemingly do. So I do expect him to be pretty flat. But once again, I think the Green Bay run game is going to be a little too overwhelming for Minnesota. And then now we have the Chicago Bears. Once again, these games could really go any way because it's a divisional game. You've seen it so many times across the league where the worst team by a mile ends up winning in one of those weird divisional ways. So I wouldn't say that there's a lock in any of the games in the division this year. And the Chicago Bears, I think they're just a team that's still in clear-cut rebuild mode. Justin Fields, it would be nice to see what he could do on a team that is actually, competent, but right now that roster just does not look promising. I think Justin Fields is going to be but being forced to run for his life all year long, and that's going to obviously happen with Green Bay as well, who has a pretty damn good front. I think Green Bay's defense, like I said, is going to be one of those top 5 units. It should easily be top 5 unit. It's a top 3 unit on paper, in my opinion. Top 5 unit is probably the floor for this team, but then again, Green Bay has had really, really good individual players throughout the seasons, yet they never always... Well, I mean, they sometimes do, but they don't really put it together like a top unit. You look at the Bills, they have some playmakers, but, the Packers have, in many years have had better players individually than teams like the Bills or, the Patriots, but they don't have the unit, right? They're not coached up as well. But looking at the Bears, I just think their defense is definitely taking steps back. Obviously, lose Khalil Mack. Robert Quinn's a pretty decent player, but how well will he play without Khalil, who was injured quite a bit, I will admit. The secondary, the safeties are getting better in Chicago. Jalen Johnson, I think, is a stud corner. There still are some issues in the secondary, but that defense is definitely on the downside. Receivers are also pretty bad, just like Green Bay. They're at least adding veteran talent, but once again, really just kind of like quantity over quality. I think Green Bay kind of does roll the Chicago Bears, especially at home in this one. So 2-0 to start, and then week 3 in Tampa. This is a game that I do not see the Packers winning. Tampa's still pretty much intact from their. I know they're losing some. They lost some veteran names that have been pretty good complementary pieces, specifically on defense, especially the D-line, but I still think Tampa's still pretty well intact. Their offense is still really solid looking. They added Shaq Mason. I think this is a game I don't want to really speak too much about because I just think it's going to be, kind of a walkover for the Buccaneers. And once again, that Packers defense, you never know. But Tom Brady has been a very good quarterback to dissect pretty much any defense, so I just don't know if Green Bay's offense could get it done. It's really tough because anything can go. You're really just looking at, the base paper rosters, and, I think Tampa is a little more complete specifically, though, with those receivers, whereas Green Bay, I feel, can get overwhelmed with some pretty athletic players that Tampa has on defense. And once again, I really just do not like the receiving group of Green Bay. Robert Tonyan coming back is probably one of their biggest threats right now. It's really tough. Watson could, like I said, play that crazy go route receiver that just, you throw it up to him and he just goes up and gets it. Obviously, a lot of concentration drops, but maybe not as many concentration drops you can have if you're going for the jump ball, right? It's not like a clear cut easy one. You're focused, but you're not. You got to get up there as well. So I still think they're going to probably lose to Tampa, but it should be a fun game. The New England Patriots, I think their offense is just going to still struggle so hard. I don't know if Mac Jones is the guy. They do have a really good offensive line, obviously, but Mac Jones is super 50-50. I mean, it's really tough to see if he had to get into a duel with Rodgers. I just don't think that's going to happen. The Patriots defense, of course, is, they got some decent players on defense, but obviously it's no surprise, or, well, I mean, it is a surprise, but it's no secret to anyone that they lost a lot at that cornerback position. I mean, they have some players like we mentioned, but I just think their defense is just missing too much, and once again, I don't know how many points their offense can score. I think the Patriots are just not what they once were. Tom Brady was obviously carrying them, kind of, carrying a dead horse to the finish line near the last couple of years, and I just think New England, it's just they don't have enough firepower either side of the ball. The New York Giants, they're still trying to figure things out. They had a really good draft, and yeah, obviously they're going to have some rookies that are going to have some growing pains early on, I'd say. Once again, they just have too many holes. I just don't see it happening for them. Green Bay, I think, across the board, pretty much every single position on their team is better than in the New York. It should be an easy game. Same with the Jets, another growing pains team. Teams that are trending, obviously, in the right direction. You can't fault them. But once again, very early, and I know the whole argument is, you want to push that bye week down the road, but I also do think a lot for the post-London game decision to not have that bye week is because it's the Jets. You probably see that as a pushover game, right? So I think, once again, the Jets, the Giants, both trending in the right directions, liked their off seasons, but too early in their rebuilds to really contend. But once again, you never know what's going to happen. Once if Green Bay is like a 6-11 team, who knows? Washington Commanders, a team with a very good defense on paper, but definitely underwhelmed last year. Quarterback's going to be a question mark. The offensive line's going to be a question mark. The receivers, Terry McLaurin, could absolutely go off, though. I think the Commanders, that quarterback position, the defense being inconsistent, I think also they just don't have enough firepower. The Bills, that's a game I would expect Green Bay to lose. So in case I haven't been clear enough, because obviously I'm kind of talking about these teams as if they're going to lose, but I didn't actually physically say. I have win, win, loss, win, 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 win. And then, of course, we're on to Buffalo, which is a loss in my opinion. I think Josh Allen is just too much of a playmaker. Green Bay has not really been specifically great against mobile quarterbacks. He's a big quarterback as well. I could easily see Green Bay having to kind of cover their way downfield. It takes too long, and Josh Allen just picks up massive amounts of yards, when the play kind of breaks down. And then on the other side, they have a really good defense, obviously, and Green Bay doesn't have any wide receivers that can challenge Tre'Davious White. I mean, there's just no chance. The safeties are great, so I don't know if Watson's going to get behind, or whoever the deep threat guy is going to get behind that defense. It could be a big running battle. Green Bay's run game versus Buffalo's pass game. We'll see what happens, but like I said, I think Buffalo wins that. The Detroit Lions, you just don't know once again with these divisional matchups, but Detroit, once again, another team that is trending in the right direction. Had a decent draft, had a decent offseason, but too early in their rebuild, and I just don't think they have it. Then you have Dallas coming to Lambeau Field. Mike McCarthy's return. Obviously a team that has massive amounts of talent on their roster. Lost Amari Cooper this offseason, which was pretty expected. This is the time where you would be able to say you'd have a better guess of how Green Bay would play this game based on their right tackle play up to Week 10. You'd be able to say, okay, their right tackle has been getting dominated. Maybe Elton Jenkins has slid over there by now. I don't know. They've got a lot of versatile guys that they added through the draft. But Dallas obviously has a pretty violent pass rush. They're able to get to the quarterback. Corners, Trayvon Diggs, I do think probably will end up coming up with a pick. And he's a guy that can, go for the bait. And with Green Bay's receivers being super slow, with their receivers, struggling to get separation, there's going to be a lot of those late reads from Rodgers. And a late read is pretty much going to be a guy in your face, probably. It could be an error interception type of bait situation. I think Green Bay's receivers suck, but I think Dallas's corners aren't much better. On the other side, you have Dallas with a lot of firepower, but Green Bay's defense is solid. So this could be a very low-scoring game of just the run game battling it out. It really could be a very fast game. Maybe if you were to time all the games this year, could be the quickest game of the year with running left and right. I would definitely see Green Bay trying to attack that interior without a doubt. The weaker interior of Dallas, and of course Dallas just likes to run the ball in general. And over the years, Green Bay hasn't been great against the run, but like I said, I think they're going to have a really good unit this year. I would still, this is a tough one. I just think Dallas has a more complete team, specifically on that offensive side of the ball. I think Green Bay drops the Dallas game, even at home. Tennessee Titans, run game with Derrick Henry. Will Malik Willis be the quarterback by then? Probably not, but he could. Another team with some really rough receivers, but still a better unit for sure with Robert Woods, a guy that I would love Green Bay to get, but obviously Rams were not trading him interconference, especially to one of their biggest direct competitors, obviously a top 3 competitor for their chances of repeating as the Super Bowl champions, or at least the NFC representative in the Super Bowl. But Tennessee Titans defense was real shaky, 50-50. They had a lot of players that were, solid, but, they weren't the same defense that we were expecting them to be. They were actually a really solid unit a year or two ago. But the receivers definitely a drop down. A.J. Brown no longer there. Obviously, it was a huge trade, first-round, third-round pick. Julio Jones no longer there. Maybe he's on the Green Bay Packers, playing against his quote-unquote former team. Ryan Tannehill, I don't think can outduel Rodgers. I think Derrick Henry can be contained. I would really like to see this matchup as well. I think this is a game where Green Bay is actually going to get some passing success. I think Green Bay beats the Titans, and I think they actually do it through the air, which isn't going to be as common of a theme as you would think, even with those receivers being out with, a guy like Rodgers at quarterback. So I think this is the game where the Packers have a huge passing attack. Philadelphia, another team that's absolutely trending in the right direction. This is, once again, similar to that argument of the right tackle from Green Bay, and how will they play from the edge? How will Jalen Hurts play? Will we have known that, hey, Jalen Hurts is the guy? Or is Philadelphia going to use some of those draft picks that they accumulated to go for a quarterback? That's going to be the big question in Week 12, as Philadelphia has probably the biggest sleeper team in the league right now. I mean, they have a squad, a sneaky good squad right now. Darius Slay is playing very good football. I mean, debatably top 5 cornerish, not top 3, 1 through 4, but very good cornerback. Obviously, they need some depth there, but they have a lot of good playmakers. That receiving group is potentially, almost the best in the league now, which is crazy to think. Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, Quez Watkins, and obviously Devontae Smith, Miles Sanders. I wouldn't say he's underrated. I think he's, adequately rated. Can the offensive line play as well as they probably should, because they have some pretty good individual players there. It's all up to Jalen Hurts. This is a game that I feel like Green Bay might lose. It's a tough one. It's a team with some versatility with their run game as well, with Jalen Hurts being able to run. Like I said, Green Bay kind of historically bad against the run, with fast quarterbacks. I think the Packers drop the game against the Eagles. I really do. Now, the Bears, it's tough to beat your opponent, your rival specifically, 2 times in a season, but I think that's what's going to happen with Green Bay. I just think, once again, Chicago and Detroit, they're just not ready. I don't even think Detroit or Chicago really added that much in the offseason. I know they needed to, bolster up that cornerback group, and you got to get more offensive linemen. You got to maybe attack, a wide receiver for Justin Fields. It's just, you lose Allen Robinson, who obviously really didn't seem like he wanted to be there anyways, but still is better than the majority of players that they added in, and probably all of them, to be honest. Even like a no to low interest Allen Robinson is still, better than these guys that are trying to, compete for a starting job. I just think, once again, Chicago doesn't have the roster they maybe had a few years back. And even then, they've been trending pretty poorly over the years. I mean, they're a team with good salary cap, but their team is just not great. It really just isn't. I'm sorry, but I just don't see it happening. Then you have the bye week. Then after the bye week, which seems like Green Bay is terrible at, they play the Super Bowl champions in Lambeau. At that point, you would expect the teams to look a little bit different with injury. Who knows? Obviously, gotta take this with a grain of salt. It's like he said the Packers are going to beat the Rams. It's like Rodgers is hurt for the season at week 9 or something. It's like you can't really, whatever may happen. Cooper Kupp is going to cook that Packers defense, I feel. Like I said, I like the Packers defense this year. I think they're going to be good, but Cooper Kupp is going to have himself a day. I just think it's going to be tough to stop the options, the weapons that the Rams have. And once again, it's going to come down to Green Bay trying to run the ball, I feel, which the Rams, they're lacking a little bit in that department. I know they got Bobby Wagner now, but this is a close game that I think the Rams win by 6. Miami, this could be a sneaky game where Green Bay just gets torched by the speed of Miami, but I just think at this point we're going to see that Tua isn't the guy, and I think Green Bay is going to beat the Miami Dolphins. And once again, another team that's trending absolutely in the right direction, but still a bit off. They do have a lot of really good players, though. They actually do. It's just they have too many holes on top of that. I think the interior of their line, really, their front four in general isn't super great. I think the Packers might be able to dominate the D-line, which is going to be, obviously, the battle of the trenches is the most important in the entire sport, without a doubt. I think they're going to win that. And then Minnesota, they're going to get their roster fully set. At this point, I don't know what I've projected Green Bay to win, but getting close to a potential bye week. So this is going to be a big game for the Packers. The Vikings are probably going to be like, 7 or 8 wins at this point, trying to fight for a spot, needing other teams to win. This could be a game where they actually drop, but like I said, it could go either way. I really do think that the Vikings offense is madly underrated. They have some really good players, but interiorly, I think especially late year, Lambeau Field, January, it's I guess the early year technically. It's going to be a running battle, and I think Green Bay is definitely more equipped to stop the run than Minnesota is, and I think, they do have a good, I would say Minnesota does have a really sick running back squad, but I just think that the offensive lines, Green Bay's probably got the nod there, and of course they have the home field advantage there. I think they're going to win a very close running game battle, especially which we've seen Green Bay's passing attack with Davante Adams in the snow, in the cold, and I think Green Bay's going to want to run the ball a lot there. And then Week 18, who knows what, kind of, motivation the teams have. I said, no, you cannot have my location. But what kind of motivation either team has. Green Bay, been dropping that Week 18 or the last game of the season quite a bit, specifically to the Detroit Lions. They seem to play them like every year at the end of the year, right? Like literally last game. This could be one of those games where Detroit wins it because Green Bay isn't trying, or they're trying to finish out the game, the season strong. That Detroit team has some fight in them. Win or lose, bad record or not, they seem to have more fight than most teams in the league, and you got to respect it. So that could be a game they win, but once again, you're looking at the scheduling. I'd still think, Green Bay probably picks up the win there. So if we are going to review, which could be a little bit too much of an, an over from me, we have 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, 4-5, 6-1, 6-2, 7-2, 7-3, 8-3, 8-4, 9-4. Did I say the Rams were going to win, right? 9-4, 9-5, 10-5, 11-5, 12-5, I believe, which is pretty sad because I literally just did this, but I can't remember what I said about the Rams. I think the Rams offense is going to be great, right? I'm pretty sure I said. So I think 12-5, Green Bay Packers, whether I said the Rams are going to be, they're going to win that or not. The Packers are going to be a 12-5 team this year, which is obviously pretty good. They're going to show that they can still win without Davante, but they absolutely miss him without a doubt. But I just think Green Bay's defense is going to be something to watch this year. It's going to be easily the best defense I've seen. And I've, as a Packers fan, and I've obviously seen the Charles Woodson defense, so many Charles Woodson defenses, which is just going to be crazy. Assuming Green Bay stays healthy, please lock up Jair right away. I don't want any of this like, we didn't pay Davante early enough, so now he wants to go to the Raiders. And I want Jair. I said it. If we're going to lose Rodgers, Davante, or Jair, if you're going to get to keep 2 of those players, or you're going to keep only 1, I want Jair. He's the future of that team, and a cornerback like him is so hard to come by. I want him more than anyone in the bed. I don't care what it costs, 22 per or whatever. Well, as long as it's not more than 22 per, I'd say. But lock him up. Make me happy. Let that defense just go out there and smother teams, suffocate them, and the offense can just run their way to victory. It's going to be a weird-looking team, I feel. Like I said, especially if they don't add a veteran wide receiver, which at this point, with Odell's potential late recovery, not that it really is his choice, Julio might be the last chance. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What, if I had them winning too many games, too little of games. What do you think about some of the, kind of predictions? Like, oh, there's no way it's going to be a running battle in, week 17 against the Vikings, or, the Packers are going to be still really good on offense. You got Rodgers. Lazard is going to have a killer year. Let me know in the comment section below. I honestly think the Green Bay's Packers are relying more on Sammy Watkins than they think. I really do. I honestly think, like, he is such a huge part of our chances to have a good receiving group. It's crazy. And that is just not a bet I'd be willing to take. I'm sorry. I don't care if he's decent when healthy. I just would not be willing to take that bet, dude. I just wouldn't. But regardless, it is Rodgers. It is the Packers. They're a great regular season team, and then we don't talk about it. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, maybe leave a like, maybe subscribe if you're new. Let me know in the comment section below if you want to see more of these real-life type of videos. And, yeah, maybe follow me on Twitter, Jeromepkr, second channel, Jeromepkr Plays. And that's about it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you guys come back for next video. But until next video, see ya!